Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare $quarter coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we are diving into one of the most fascinating and inspiring modern coins in the United States quarter series, the 2023 Bessie Coleman quarter. This coin is not just pocket change, it carries a powerful story, a connection to American history, and for collectors, it holds some surprising value. So, if you have one of these in your hands, listen carefully, because it might be worth far more than 25 cents. The Bessie Coleman quarter was issued as part of the American Women Quarters program, which began in 2022. Each year, this program highlights remarkable women who made lasting contributions to the nation's history. Bessie Coleman is one of those icons. She was the very first African American woman and also the first Native American woman to earn a pilot's license, back in 1921. At a time when opportunities were extremely limited, her determination and courage broke barriers in both race and gender, making her a symbol of progress and resilience. The design of the coin itself is striking. On the obverse side, as with all quarters of this series, you'll see George Washington's portrait, but with a new right-facing profile that was introduced in 2022. The reverse side is where the true magic lies. Bessie Coleman is depicted in her pilot uniform, gazing confidently toward the skies, representing her courage and her dream of flight. Around her, you'll find the inscriptions honoring her name, her historic achievements, and the year of issue. For collectors, the beauty of this design paired with its cultural importance makes it one of the most memorable modern coins in circulation. Now, you might be asking yourself, what makes this coin rare? After all, millions of quarters are struck each year. The rarity here does not come from the number minted, but from condition, errors, and unique varieties. A quarter pulled directly from circulation will usually just be worth face value. But those that are in uncirculated or mint state condition, especially coins graded by professional services, can become highly collectible. Errors are where things get exciting. With the Bessie Coleman quarter, some coins have already been reported with striking errors such as off-center strikes, die cracks, cuds, or double die details on the lettering or design features. These kinds of minting mistakes can turn an ordinary coin into a true treasure. Collectors chase these error coins because they are one of a kind, and the rarity drives the price up significantly. Even small imperfections can make a big difference when it comes to value. Another factor collectors look for is special finishes, such as proof coins or quarters minted at San Francisco with an S mint mark. These coins were not made for general circulation but instead for collectors, often in proof sets. Their mirrored surfaces and sharp details make them highly desirable, and when kept in pristine condition, their value can be much higher than the regular circulation strike. So, let's get to the part you've been waiting for, the potential value. A regular Bessie Coleman quarter found in circulation is usually worth only 25 cents. But uncirculated examples, or those graded in high mint state, can sell for several dollars each. Special proof versions can go higher, and when we talk about error coins, the prices get even more impressive. Some error Bessie Coleman quarters have already sold at auctions for hundreds of dollars, and in certain cases, rare examples can even reach into the thousands depending on the uniqueness and condition. That's why it's always worth taking a closer look at the coins in your pocket or your collection. What seems like just another quarter might turn out to be a valuable piece of history. So next time you get change, keep an eye out for the 2023 Bessie Coleman quarter. You never know when you might be holding something truly special. Top 2, we are going to explore a very special piece of American coinage, the 1967 United States quarter dollar. At first glance, it might look like just another old Washington quarter, but there's so much more behind it. This coin has an interesting story, unique errors that can make it very rare, and values that may surprise you if you happen to own one. So listen closely, because this is one coin you'll definitely want to check in your collection or even in your pocket change if you're lucky enough to find one. Now, let's start with a little history. The 1967 quarter was minted during a transitional period for U.S. coins. Just 1 year earlier, in 1965, the United States stopped making quarters with silver and switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This was a huge change because for decades, quarters had contained 90% silver. By 1967, the mint was still adjusting to the new production methods, and that meant a lot of unusual things happened at the presses. To add to that, during the years 1965 through 1967, the U.S. Mint suspended mint marks to discourage coin hoarding. That's right, no matter where your 1967 quarter was struck, it has no mint mark. This already makes it a unique coin compared to many others in the Washington Quarter series. So what makes these quarters exciting for collectors? Condition plays a big role. A 1967 quarter that has been heavily circulated is usually just worth face value, but coins in mint state condition, especially those graded by professionals, are much more desirable. Collectors look for sharp details, bright luster, and minimal marks. Since millions were made, only the best of the best bring strong prices, but here's where things really get interesting: the errors. The 1967 quarter is known for having several different minting mistakes that can turn a normal coin into something extraordinary. Some of the most famous include double die obverse coins, where parts of the lettering or even Washington's profile show doubling. There are also off-center strikes, where the design is visibly shifted, and coins with clipped planchets, where a small part of the metal blank is missing. On top of that, some coins were struck on the wrong planchet altogether, which makes them extremely rare and highly sought after. Even small die cracks or cuds, where extra metal shows up on the surface from a broken die, can make these coins unique. Collectors love these errors because each one is different, and the rarer the mistake, the more valuable the coin becomes. In fact, error coins from 1967 are some of the most exciting finds in the clad quarter series. Now, let's talk about what these coins can actually be worth. A standard 1967 quarter in worn condition is usually just 25 cents. But when you find one in mint state condition, the value can jump into the tens or even hundreds of dollars depending on grade. Proof-like examples, though rare, can bring even more. And when it comes to the dramatic error coins, that's where the prices skyrocket. Some of the most desirable 1967 quarter errors have sold at auctions for thousands of dollars, and in a few special cases, well over 5 figures for a single coin. So the next time you come across a 1967 quarter, don't just toss it aside. Take a close look at the details, check for any unusual features, and consider its condition. You never know, you might be holding onto a small fortune without even realizing it. Top 3, we're talking about a coin that might still be hiding in pocket change, a coin that many people overlook, but collectors know it has some fascinating secrets. It's the United States quarter dollar from 1971. At first glance it looks like just another Washington quarter, but this one has its own story, its own rare errors, and for some lucky collectors, it can be worth far more than just 25 cents. So pay close attention, because this coin has more to it than meets the eye. The 1971 quarter comes from a time when the U.S. Mint had already made the transition from silver to copper-nickel-clad coinage. Just a few years earlier, silver was completely removed from quarters, which changed not only the composition but also how collectors viewed modern coins. By 1971, people were no longer hoarding coins for their silver content, but certain dates and certain mistakes started to become collectible in their own right. One detail about this coin is that it was produced in very large numbers. Between the Philadelphia and Denver mints, hundreds of millions were struck, which means most are common today. But here's the key: condition and rarity of errors separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. A heavily circulated 1971 quarter will almost always just be face value, but coins that remain in mint state condition with sharp details and luster are much harder to find. Collectors love hunting for the rare errors on this coin, and the 1971 quarter does not disappoint. Some of the most valuable are double die coins, where you can see doubling on the date, lettering, or even on parts of Washington's profile. Another exciting variety includes off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the blank wasn't lined up properly in the press. There are also clipped planchets, which show a curved bite-like cut where the metal wasn't perfectly prepared. Each of these mistakes makes the coin one of a kind, perhaps the most fascinating and rare are the transitional or wrong planchet errors. On rare occasions, quarters were struck on planchets meant for other denominations, like dimes or even foreign coins. These pieces are true rarities and often end up in major auctions where collectors compete fiercely to own them. Even smaller errors such as die cracks, cuds, or struck-through grease examples are highly collectible when found in clean condition. Proof coins and special strikes from 1971 also hold interest. These were made for collectors and feature sharper details, mirrored surfaces, and an overall premium look. If they've been preserved carefully, they can bring strong prices today. Now, the big question: what is a 1971 quarter really worth? Well, a standard circulated one is usually worth only its face value of 25 cents. But in high mint state grades, these coins can sell for several dollars to over $100. Proof versions in pristine condition can bring even more. When it comes to error coins, that's where the value jumps dramatically. Off-center examples and double dies can sell for hundreds, while rare wrong planchet errors have been auctioned for thousands. In some of the most spectacular cases, a single 1971 quarter has crossed the auction block for well over 5 figures. So the next time you see a 1971 quarter, don't ignore it. Look closely, examine the details, and check for those unique features that could make your coin special. What looks like pocket change today might actually be a hidden treasure tomorrow. Top 4. We're diving into a coin that many people still see in their pocket change, yet collectors know it has some surprises hidden beneath its ordinary look. It's the United States $quarter from 1996. At first sight it might seem like just another Washington quarter, but trust me, there are details, rare errors, and conditions that make this coin stand out and give it real value. So sit back and listen carefully, because this is one of those coins that can turn an ordinary day into an extraordinary find. The 1996 quarter comes from the last few years before the famous state quarters program began in 1999. For decades, the Washington quarter design had remained unchanged, but that doesn't mean these coins are boring. In fact, the 1996 issue is special because it marks the end of an era, right before the U.S. Mint completely changed how people looked at quarters. Millions were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and there were also special proof versions from San Francisco. While most of these circulated coins remain common, some stand out due to condition, minting mistakes, or simply being preserved in perfect state. Collectors know that the real value often comes down to condition. A coin that went through years of circulation and shows scratches, wear, or dull surfaces will usually only be worth face value. But those rare examples that were never spent, that shine with their original luster, and that grade highly at professional services, can sell for impressive amounts. The challenge is finding them, because very few survive untouched after nearly 3 decades. Now let's talk about what really excites collectors: the errors and varieties. The 1996 quarter has a number of reported errors that make it highly collectible. Some of the most dramatic include off-center strikes, where part of Washington's face or the eagle on the reverse is cut off because the blank was not properly placed in the press. Another popular error is the double die, where the lettering, the date, or parts of the eagle appear doubled under magnification. Even more interesting are clipped planchets, where a small curved section is missing from the edge of the coin, making it immediately recognizable. There are also struck-through errors, where grease or debris on the dies caused parts of the design to be faint or missing. Each of these minting mistakes turns an ordinary coin into a collectible treasure. And then, of course, we have proof coins, which were struck in very limited numbers with polished dies to create sharp details and mirrored backgrounds. These are beautiful coins that were made for collectors and can carry premium values when kept pristine. Another factor that makes the 1996 quarter appealing is its timing in history. This was one of the last traditional Washington quarters before the explosion of interest brought on by the state quarter series. That means collectors today often look back at coins like this as the bridge between the old era and the new. Now let's get to what you've been waiting for: the value. A worn 1996 quarter from circulation is normally just worth 25 cents. But coins in mint state condition can sell for several dollars, and in the very highest grades, they can reach into the hundreds. Proof examples in top condition can also sell for strong premiums. But the real money is in the error coins. Depending on the type and severity, some 1996 quarter errors have sold for hundreds of dollars, and in rare cases, at auctions, unique examples have brought in thousands. So, the next time you see a 1996 quarter, don't just toss it aside. Look closely, check the details, and see if you might be holding a hidden gem. What seems like ordinary change could actually be something far more valuable. Top 5, and last rare coin, we're going to take a close look at a coin that most people would easily overlook, but for collectors, it can be a real prize. I'm talking about the United States quarter dollar from 1988. At first glance, it seems like just another Washington quarter, something you might have jingling in your pocket or sitting in a change jar. But hidden among these coins are examples that can be surprisingly rare and even valuable. So stick with me until the end, because you'll want to know just how much some of these quarters have sold for. The 1988 quarter comes from the years before the massive state quarter program began in 1999. At that time, the Washington quarter design had been the same for decades, featuring George Washington's portrait on the front and the eagle on the back. Even though the design hadn't changed, what makes this date interesting is the sheer number produced and the hidden gems that can be found among them. The U.S. Mint struck hundreds of millions of these coins at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, plus proof issues from San Francisco. Because of this, finding a regular 1988 quarter isn't difficult. What matters is the condition and whether it carries any unusual minting errors. That's where the real excitement begins. Condition is key for collectors. Circulated coins, the ones we see every day, are usually only worth face value. But coins that were never spent and still hold their original luster are far more desirable. Professional grading services can assign these high mint state coins grades that boost their value significantly. The higher the grade, the stronger the price. Now let's talk about the errors, because the 1988 quarter is known to have some fascinating ones. Some examples show doubled dies, where parts of the lettering or even Washington's features appear doubled. Others display off-center strikes, where the design is shifted noticeably, making the coin look strange and unique. Clipped planchets, where part of the coin's edge is missing, are another type of collectible error that stands out immediately. Then there are struck-through errors, where grease or debris on the die caused parts of the design to be weak or missing entirely. These coins can look unusual, and collectors love them for their uniqueness. Wrong planchet errors are even more dramatic. Imagine a quarter accidentally struck on a dime blank. These are incredibly rare and almost always command big money when they surface. Proof coins from 1988 also deserve attention. These were specially made for collectors, featuring sharp details and mirror-like surfaces. If kept in pristine condition, they can be quite valuable, especially in the highest grades. So what about value? A circulated 1988 quarter is normally just worth 25 cents. But high-grade mint state examples can bring in several dollars to over $100 depending on the grade. Proof versions in top condition can also sell for strong premiums. When it comes to errors, that's where the value jumps significantly. Depending on the type and severity, some error quarters from 1988 have sold for hundreds, and in rare cases, unique examples have crossed the auction block for thousands of dollars. So before you dismiss that 1988 quarter sitting in your change, take a second look. You never know when a small detail or a rare error could mean the difference between pocket change and a serious collector's item. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare and valuable coins, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss out on our next coin hunt. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, happy collecting.